of the things that we as a culture kind of require women to do.
I get pretty personal in this series sometimes. One topic I haven't discussed is my physical appearance. Y'all do that for me? Well, I've had plenty of my own insecurities and headaches related to how I maintain my appearance. Women encounter far more scrutiny. Fellas, this episode is mostly for them, but feel free to stick around and learn something. To be more specific, there's no one group of people in America that receives more scrutiny for their appearance than Black women.
Explores the connection between black hair and professionalism.
It's discrimination because of the way they wear their hair.
I have a Black mother. All my best friends have been Black women. And y'all will never see this one coming. I have a Black girlfriend. I have this really unique approach to my relationships with all these women. I listen to what they have to say. I ask them about their experiences with the beauty industry, including hair, cosmetics, fitness products, and the societal pressures those things can create. There will always be more for me to learn, but I think my research director, Naomi, and I have compiled enough info to help break this down in a way that'll resonate with women and men alike. To help me tackle this authentically, I've reached out to one of my favorite Black creators on YouTube, fellow musician, Alicia Renice.
Hello.
What's good? Alicia makes videos on her experience as a Black woman in America, with many of them digging into how people are treated as a result of our country's power structure, and others aimed at spreading more kindness in general. I'll lead off with the research we found, sprinkled with Nao's perspective, and lean on Alicia's experiences to add that crucial context. Welcome back to Deep Dives. Let's get it.
Specifically, the hairstyles of young African Americans.
Products often used by Black women are now linked to an increased risk of cancer.
Many toxic chemicals were in some beauty care products.
The word is excuse me.
Nobody told you to stand in the hall either.
Pickaninny, Barbie doll, high yellow heifer,
Tar baby, wanna be white, jigaboo.
don't start.
We're gonna finish it.
That movie came out in 1988, which is a year before Alicia and I were even conceived. But the animosity between the two factions of Black hair hasn't healed as much as you may think. While terms like jigaboo, pickaninny, heifer, and tar baby aren't really used anymore, the sentiments behind those insults remain a fixture of pop culture discussions around some of our biggest stars.
I am not my hair. I am not this skin.
Natural hair versus perms, kinks versus weaves, Black and brown afros versus luxurious blonde locks. The animosity is real, the insecurity runs deep, and all of it can be summed up under the umbrella of texturism. Before we dig in, my eternal mission to keep y'all's cybersecurity game top-notch continues thanks to today's sponsor, Aura. Last time I walked y'all through an alert related to my credit card. When I logged in today, I saw a similar warning with regard to my rent and cleared that out pretty efficiently. I want to follow up on the credit report options I mentioned last time. I said you could generate a credit report and get one from the other two major bureaus. Let's see how that works. All I have to do is navigate to the credit page, scroll past the credit dashboard, and click Generate Credit Report. No Googling random sites trying to find something that lets you do this easily. It's all inside Aura. As you can see, I can cycle through each bureau to see how their information on me differs. My address is very slightly different between all three bureaus. For example, I can go from personal info to the accounts menu that shows me open and closed accounts to the inquiries menu to show me which companies did a hard pull. No public records here for any of the bureaus, and that's a relief if I'm being honest. All the info on my report checks out based on what I know, so we're good. It's not enough to just know your score. You need to get this level of detail to stay on top of your financial health. Especially since Ticketmaster was recently hacked and the data of 560 million users was put up for sale on the dark web. If you've ever bought a ticket through them, your credit card data, full name, address, and more could be at risk. Aura does a whole lot of things beyond credit monitoring, like VPN, identity theft protection, and removing your info from malicious sites too. To test drive them for 2 weeks, use my link, aura.com/CampJames, to start your free trial. today. Back to texturism. You might be able to guess the definition, but you don't have to. Ashley S., a staff member at the Richland Library, wrote an article in 2022 that gave us this gem. Texturism is the idea that certain textures of hair are indicators of a superior status in society. Loosely coiled hair, or hair that fits the standards associated with European features, are accepted as societal norms, whereas hair that is tightly coiled is often defined as unkempt.
While I love the depiction of texturism and colorism in school days, texturism isn't always as overt. It can actually be quite subtle. In music videos, ads, song and television shows, Black women are often praised or desired or centered when they have lighter skin and looser hair. Long flowing hair is sold in commercials, and accessibility to affordable and safe products for natural hair is often difficult, especially considering the lack of availability and higher costs. From young ages, women are taught to be ashamed of their tight hair, often being made fun of for having coarser hair. I remember when I was younger, my grandmommy bought me a subscription to Essence magazine. I was obsessed with Black art, beauty, and writing. Even though this publication was made for Black women, every other ad was selling a product that pushed the narrative that if you were racially ambiguous, you were most desired. The less Black you appeared, the more beautiful you were. The less melanin, the less kink and coil in your hair, the better. Ads for colored contacts, hair straighteners, and even skin lightening creams jumped out at me every few pages. And it wasn't just the magazines. Music videos, movies, and music, even lyrics to songs reinforced this beauty idea. In music videos, the women who were seen as love interests often had lighter skin, longer hair, and thinner and smaller bodies. Lyrics celebrated light-skinned women and red bones, while darker-complected women with kinkier hair were often used as a backdrop in these music videos or not featured at all. At worst, women with kinkier hair were made fun of. In Project Patch Chicken Head, there's a few lines that have forever been burned into my memory. Bald-headed scallywag, ain't got no hair in the back, gelled up, weaved up, your hair is messed up, need to get about a hustle mission, get up on loot, and run to beautician. These lyrics unlocked a new fear. This song came out when I was about 11 years old, and if you didn't know, kids can be cruel. The boys in my grade loved repeating these lyrics in class, looking for a little girl with coily hair to make fun of. Even at 11 years old, I understood that being beautiful and desirable meant that I'd be protected from their insults and teasing. So I did everything I could not to be that girl, the girl with kinky hair in the back of my head. And I saw little girls trying their best to fit their tight and kinky hair into ponytails, and as natural hair does, it defied their rubber bands, their scrunchies, and soon they'd be the next victim of these harmful lyrics. As a little girl, you realize no matter what you do, there will always be someone reminding you that your Black is showing. I've literally had folks tell me that I look way better with straighter and longer hair as opposed to my thicker and coarser coils.
Speaking of coarser hair, this is probably an ideal time to introduce Andre Walker and his gold system.
Would you believe Oprah Winfrey has had the same hairstylist for 20 plus years?
Walker was the sole person responsible for styling legendary TV host Oprah Winfrey's hair for the duration of her multi-decade career on The Oprah Winfrey Show. That's a big responsibility, but it's particularly impressive because he's also the creator of a hair type classification system that was originally used to sell his own products. And now it's used across the world to easily describe hair textures.
Now I'm going to put the beautiful kink styling cream in, and what that will do is help define Diane's texture.
It looks fantastic, Diane.
I'm well aware that I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to most of the women in my audience, and that this system is occasionally criticized for being too narrow or divisive. We just need to understand it as a foundation to build off of. I got some help from Annie Blay from Allure to break this down in a way that's easier to understand. In this article, 3 professional hairstylists were consulted from very different parts of the country: LA, Brooklyn, and ATL. They all happen to be men, but let's overlook that for the time being. LA's Vernon Francois says, your curl type is determined by the shape of the follicle that your hair grows out of from your scalp. The flatter or more oval shape the follicle, the curlier your hair, the more circular the cross-section, the straighter your hair. Your curl pattern is also identified by the shape that the strands of hair make, whether they kink, curve, or wind around themselves into spirals. Francois went on to say that most people have multiple patterns in their head, and that identifying your pattern is easiest when your hair is soaking wet. A quick breakdown of the curl patterns. Type 1s are straight, type 2s are wavy, type 3s are curly, and type 4s are coily. Each type has a subcategory represented by A, B, or C. That's the width or diameter of the curl or coil. Atlanta's Anthony Dickey says, the real beauty of identifying your hair type is that you're better at understanding how to care for your texture so you can have more versatility. The article goes on to provide a definitive guide to each subcategory of hair with pics of celebs to help us sort this out. Believe it or not, these patterns apply to men too. My hair is approximately 4C in texture, meaning it's pretty tightly coiled and can be tough to maintain moisture or style it in certain ways. I spent years struggling to make sure my hair was presentable when I worked in offices. There's few feelings worse than knowing your hair is nappy and not lined up well and having to go into the office anyway. The way a person thinks they look is a pretty crucial part of how their day goes. And there were times when I didn't want anyone to look at me. Now, imagine feeling like that when you're the tallest and darkest person in any given office or classroom. I can't hide. Everyone else in here thinks my hair is an exotic attraction that needs to be commented on or touched.
As a child, I honestly had no idea that my hair was wrong until my mother permed my hair at an early age to make my hair easier to manage. Subconsciously, though, it taught me that my black features were something to tame, something to fix. Just for Me was a chemical relaxer marketed to black women and their little girls. I remember seeing the beautiful girls on the box, and all I could hope for was to look just like them. They looked so happy, stylish, and free on the cover, even though later on I found out that these girls never actually got a relaxer in the first place. That's why their hair was so thick and healthy. After a few weeks of being permed, my hair started to grow back. That meant that my curly, kinky hair came back as well. I became ashamed of the way that my hair naturally grew out of my head. I did not want my black features to be seen or made fun of. My mother would say things like, "It's time to get another perm," when she would do my hair for school. Experiences like this solidified that kinky, coily, and nappy hair was not seen as beautiful or easy. It was inconvenient and unruly. I remember my mother trying to do my hair, complaining about how difficult my hair was. It was an inconvenience to my busy mother, and my father didn't know the first thing about hair. So she relaxed it. Every 6 to 8 weeks, my mother applied a chemical cream that irritated my nostrils and burned my scalp. But the longer you take the burn, the straighter your hair would get. I would keep it on so long that sometimes I would get chemical burns and scabs on my scalp. I wanted straight hair, and I wanted it bad. I didn't want to be difficult. A terrifying 2022 study from NIH revealed that women who frequently use chemical relaxers may have a higher risk of uterine cancer. When you consider that the relaxers are mostly marketed to black women with kinkier hair, you can see how troubling this data is for me and women like me who were just trying to be beautiful. When it comes to beauty, black women with unambiguous features pay the highest price. Even going to salons can be anxiety-inducing. Variables like how thick your hair is, how long your hair is, and what mood the stylist is in could determine how much you are charged for services. While a person with looser hair may get braids and be charged around $150, a person with thicker hair may be charged more, while also being expected to do most of the work for the stylist. Washing, blow drying, detangling, flat ironing, all the services you would expect to receive at a full-service salon. The thickness of your hair could also determine how kindly and gently you're treated. People assume that just because your hair is thicker, your pain tolerance is higher than others. Just as the medical system assumes blacker skin is thicker and less sensitive, the same is assumed about our hair. I have left many a salon session in tears because my scalp hurts or because the stylist was rough, careless, and unkind to me and my body. Recently, black hairstylists have been under fire for their lack of professionalism and their blatant hair discrimination. Some folks are rightfully calling hairstylists anti-black for expecting those with 4C hair to come with their hair already bone straight to their appointment. For many black folks, hair care is sacred. Finding someone who is not only gifted at doing hair, we call that growing hands, but is also gentle with you is a rare find. And some stylists exploit this desperate need and provide black women with subpar services just because they can, because where else are black women going to go? Some hairstylists, like the one mentioned in this Nylon article, even go so far as to pressure their clients to get relaxers to make their jobs easier, calling it a grown-up decision. Jasmine Norris Marsh shared her experience with a hairstylist who told her that going natural was childish and getting your hair relaxed was being an adult. What does that mean when even hairstylists see your hair, how it naturally grows out of your head, as childish or immature, incomplete? When wearing your hair in the way it naturally grows out of your scalp without styling it first is called unclean, unprofessional, unkempt, or even revolutionary, we can clearly see how deeply embedded texturism is in our culture. When your hair can impact your employment and education opportunities, as well as determine whether or not you're treated with respect in general, finding quality hair care is paramount for black women, and these companies exploit that desperate need. I know this to be true for my own life's experiences. When I took my engagement photos, my hair would not cooperate. No matter what I did, my hair did the opposite. I sat outside of the venue sobbing because I felt ugly. I strongly considered canceling our appointment. I wanted a moment amidst all the planning and stressing to feel beautiful, and my hair was ruining that moment for me. I had a full-on breakdown in my car because my hair wasn't being good that day. When your hair isn't cooperating, it can make you want to go home and hide under the covers. In my day-to-day, I would wrap my hair up to avoid more breakdowns, to protect my mind from the weathering that other people's judgment brings, and to save the energy it actually takes to maintain a hairstyle that the world finds acceptable.
Our hair is literally a form of nonverbal communication. The Well published a really dope article at the top of 2022 exploring the ways we speak without speaking when it comes to our hair. With the help of scholars like Dr. Johanna Lucate and books like Hair Story, we discovered the African tribes that had their styles so dialed in and distinct that you could tell a person's marital status, age, religion, ethnic identity, wealth, and rank within the community just by looking at them. Some tribes could even communicate their surname through their hair. It was that elaborate. That erasure of identity for modern Black Americans started when they were forcibly shaved by traders. Since they also didn't know English and had to blend with slaves from different tribes, this was effectively rendering them mute. A natural bridge from that conversation is the one about hair under apartheid in South Africa. Apartheid was a federally enforced racial classification system that lasted from around 1950 to 1994 and dictated everything about how you could live your life, including marriage and residential areas. When you have a deeply racist system, you have to find a way to put everyone in the right boxes, right? For most people, this meant you were judged on vibes. If you were obviously perceived as part of a certain group, that's what you were. Pretty big margin for error, to say the least. Enter the pencil test. It went like this. If a pencil placed in someone's hair fell out easily, they were white. If it fell out from them being shaken, they were colored. And if it stayed put, they were Black. Test integrity level, witch trials. Just like the witch trials, they had pretty drastic consequences. Angela Thompson brings us the story of Sandra Lang. She was born to white parents, but had the appearance of a light-skinned colored person. In other words, she probably had a tan and thicker hair. Her racial classification was challenged at school, and she was expelled for being colored. Her pops got a paternity test and got her reclassified, but it was too late. The white community shunned her, and she ended up marrying a Black man. Then, to stay with her children, she petitioned to be reclassified as colored. As of 2018, her brothers still refuse to speak to her.
Okay.
The cosmetics industry is beyond large at this point, turning several celebrities into 100 millionaires or billionaires over a very short period of time. Yahoo Finance cited Precedent's research to bring us the hard numbers. The global market size was $378 billion in 2022 and was expected to hit $661 billion by 2032, which is a 5.8% compound annual growth rate. If we're talking about the U.S. cosmetics industry, it surpassed $87.7 billion in 2022. I don't think anyone would be surprised that social media is cited as the main cause of the rapid expansion expected over the next decade. Makeup is essential to many people's daily routine and experience when it comes to formal events, office work, or just going outside. The perception we've created when it comes to women is that a bare face is unacceptable in many contexts, and it starts from childhood.
Growing up, my mother would not let me wear makeup. She said it was too grown. And so I always associated makeup with being adult. And being an adult meant that you had to care about how you looked to the outside world. The world loved beautiful women, so you had to be beautiful too. When I was finally allowed to play in some makeup, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know where to start. There was a solution for everything. Even things I never knew were an issue. Every season, I watched as new products rolled out and realized that they're creating more problems to fix. I couldn't keep up. When I had pimples, there was Noxzema. When I got scars from those pimples, there was skin lightening cream and color correcting foundation. When I get crow's feet, someone will sell me anti-aging cream. The beauty industry is set on keeping women as insecure as possible to guarantee that they have a lifetime host to feast on. I've tried them all. From $30 face creams, $100 waxings, and $1,000 hair removal treatments, because women are not allowed to be hairy. $15 eyeshadow that adds up really quickly, the special lotion that promises to firm your legs because cellulite is ugly. I was spending so much of my little monies to make sure that my black didn't crack, to make sure that I was beautiful. But honestly, I have no idea if it actually worked. Chasing perfection is fatiguing all by itself. Spending hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing perfection only ever left me broke and hopeless. I felt silly for believing in the magic these commercials promised me. I felt lied to, betrayed. And to soothe my anger and heartbreak, all these corporations had to offer were more products, and none of them fixed what they broke: my sense of self and confidence. I wish that someone let me know early on that hyperpigmentation after a blemish is normal. I wish someone told me that it meant my body was healing itself. I wish that someone told me that cellulite is actually super normal. I wish women didn't have to live up to impossible standards created by some out-of-touch executives in some boardroom. I wish that my value and worth weren't tied up in how pretty or perfect I appear to others. I wish women weren't gifted insecurity as an heirloom, passed down from one generation to the next.
This isn't exactly a new idea, so I'll get some help from a comedian whose stand-up has taken an incredibly sad nosedive in recent years.
Women be shopping, baby. Women be shopping.
Bear with me, there's some nuance to that statement. Y'all buy a lot of products you don't need, and these companies are racking up by creating a new fake name for a fake dermatologist-approved formula to solve a problem you didn't even know you had. Feels like how toothpaste companies have to pretend they have some new formula every couple years or so to make sure they hit their sales targets. You were gonna buy your favorite products anyway, but the fact that they keep pretending it's brand new is insulting to our intelligence. I've had to buy these bottles of fancy liquid for exes before, so yes, I'm including myself in this. I've given you the national sales figures. Now, let's zoom in on Black women specifically. $7.5 billion spent every year on cosmetics and 9 times more than the average consumer on hair products. 9 times. According to the Black Beauty Project by the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics, the products marketed towards Black women contain the most toxic ingredients, including chemicals linked to breast and ovarian cancer, uterine fibroids, reproductive harm, and more. Black women are already dealing with large health disparities, including the highest maternal mortality and breast cancer mortality rates. So the project's efforts to create lists of non-toxic beauty products made by Black-owned brands is hella necessary. While cosmetics are rooted in childhood exposure to ads and societal pressure, this next category kicks in even earlier. Sometimes, as soon as you see another Black child for the first time. This is a term that's built more recognition since social media became prominent. And although it applies to the dynamics of multiple ethnic groups, it's tough to find a more relevant place to define colorism than the relationship between light-skinned and dark-skinned Black people. I'm what most people would call chocolate complexion. Is it a compliment to be constantly compared to food? Depends on the target. I don't find it offensive, but a lot of us do. Chocolate is luxurious, smooth, sweet, and inseparably tied to slavery. That's 4 out of 4. Yes, sir. I have a little brother who's 14 months younger than me. He just turned 33. He's closer to what most people would consider lighter skinned, but there's even more degrees of light and dark than either one of us can represent. One thing that makes my ethnic group pretty unique is that we can cover the entire color spectrum and still be Black. The palest of the pale and the darkest of the dark people you can find, all under that same umbrella. It's beautiful to me, but to others, both outside and inside the club, it can be a source of tension and ridicule. In a nutshell, colorism is discrimination based on skin tone and combines external perceptions with internalized self-hate.
My introduction to colorism took place in my own family. My aunt and mother are only 2 years apart, but their upbringing and experiences in life are completely different. My aunt is a darker-skinned Black woman, while my mother is a fair-skinned Black woman. Growing up, my aunt always was called fast because she was curvy and dark-skinned. She was adultified, which means treated as a woman when she was really a child. She suffered harassment and neglect because of the hue of her skin. My mother, on the other hand, was treated softly and was often the family favorite. She was treated like she was delicate, while my aunt was expected to be resilient and strong. Time hasn't changed this dynamic much. Even today, my aunt is seen as the one who is expected to deny herself, suffer in silence, and care for others. I see how colorism affects both of their confidence. Colorism wasn't a word that my family would use often, but they definitely understood color-struck. Color-struck is a term some Black folks use to describe the act of being taken with or fascinated by lighter-complected people. My aunt has literally been called Blackie. She's been left out of family functions and loved in secret because of the hue of her skin. Though my mother has had her own oppressive experiences as a lighter-complected Black woman, my mother and aunt's experiences in life are completely different. No matter how close in age they were, the color of their skin, in some ways, determined what opportunities they were afforded, their romantic prospects, and how their family sees and treats them. Colorism was also present in my life when I was unaware. As a child, I was told by my classmates not to spend too much time in the sun because I'm not pretty when my skin is darker. It didn't necessarily stop me from playing outside with my friends, but it definitely haunted me in the sunny days of summer.
A study published by Northwestern University researchers in the International Journal of Women's Dermatology last year said the quiet part out loud. A lot of women want to lighten their skin, and it's a huge business. Skin lightening, or bleaching, is a multi-billion-dollar industry, mostly composed of damaging products. Researchers surveyed hundreds of people, and most didn't know that the products contain ingredients like hydroquinone, which is known to cause rashes, swelling, and discoloration. Although these are typically used to treat dermatological diseases or hyperpigmentation, the pressure society creates to be lighter with fewer blemishes creates an incentive for people to abuse them. This obsession over achieving this imaginary ideal state, where people no longer look down on your complexion, is influenced by a lot more than just vanity, too. The American Journal of Sociology published a study by Ryan King and Brian Johnson in summer 16, concluding that lighter-skinned Black people are more advantaged in multiple areas, including socially, politically, and economically. There's even evidence that darker-skinned people and those with more Afrocentric features receive harsher prison sentences. This is not news to most of us. The evidence is limited in important ways since it's only possible to test existing inmate populations and compare them to their sentences. That leaves out the most important factor: the judge or jury choosing whether or not to send them to prison in the first place. I don't think I've ever felt the need to be lighter, but I've definitely been fed up with the attention I attracted just for looking like this in mostly white spaces. Likewise, prominent celebs have come under fire before for their privilege, whether or not it makes sense. I could see Ice Spice being a legit example, but y'all gotta stop acting like anybody else in Destiny's Child was destined to become Beyonce. That's an excellent segue to discuss the prevalence of light-skin supremacy in a lot of the media we consume, while also acknowledging some of the strides taken in recent years to rectify that problem. Not gonna lie, our channel would probably be bigger by now if I didn't look like this. I say that humbly, but we're out here delivering short films every 2 weeks. I digress though. I felt very real pressure having to compare my thick and frequently unmanageable hair with the microwaves these light-skinned dudes were able to pull off so easily.
Growing up, I fell in love with romantic comedies, but it's not lost on me that most of the main characters were either white, light skin, or considered attractive based on European standards. All the ones that centered Black women usually came with a lot of trauma or betrayal before they settled for their Prince Charming. Women in white romantic comedies were wooed and loved well. I have yet to see a dark-complected main character in a romantic comedy where the woman is not expected to suffer harm before being loved well, i.e. Love and Basketball and Brown Sugar. Even in Black romantic comedies, darker-skinned women are often casted as either the hypersexual best friend who is always making silly decisions, she's usually there for comedic relief, the magical Negro, whose main job is to support or save the main character with her wisdom or her sacrifice, or the supportive and helpful best friend, never the center of her own romance. This kind of feeds into the mammy archetype, where the Black women are expected to find fulfillment in servitude and remaining loveless. The mammy is a caricature created to absolve America of their guilt and shame around enslavement. The mammy archetype is a caricature created to absolve America of their guilt and shame around enslavement. The mammy caricature painted Black women as happy to be helpful, maternal even. They sacrifice their own pleasures and joys for the good of everyone else around them, usually white folks. These caricatures often depicted darker-complected, heavier, and ignorantly jolly Black women whose joy and purpose in life is found in caring for others, even at her own expense. Think of Hattie McDaniel in Gone with the Wind, or Octavia Spencer in The Help. Even though these caricatures were based on enslaved Black women forced to care for their enslavers' children, often feeding them from their own breasts, they painted this woman to be solely concerned with being helpful to everyone around her. Beyond her being helpful, she hardly has anything else going for herself. No personal dreams, no hobbies, no love interests, nothing. Her entire purpose is being helpful, simply because she's darker complected. If she deviates from the script, she's labeled as a bad Black woman, because Black women were put here to make everyone's lives comfortable, not to make a fuss, and definitely not to be human. And even when Black women were centered in these movies, they were valued for their beauty, marked as a prized possession, a reward, or a trophy. These women weren't even loved for who they were. Where lighter-skinned women may be seen as quirky, passionate, and awkward, dark-skinned women were seen as difficult or bitter if they expressed anything other than joy. Even today online, you can find men talking down on Black women, especially darker-complected Black women, about how unattractive and bitter we are for being human.
Examples of Black female characters from shows I've actually seen, and one I haven't, who had very minimal character development over the course of several seasons. Lynn from Girlfriends, Kelly from Insecure, and Angie from Harlem. Haven't seen that last one, but we get a thorough explanation from Cosmopolitan's Melanie Curry as she lays out how each of those characters represent the Jezebel archetype, an openly sexual comic relief character that experiences very little growth or layered storylines. It's particularly harmful when we consider that Black writers and directors have so few opportunities to spread our wings in Hollywood, though. And sure, entertainment isn't everything, but it's a lot. The fact that most Black women watching this knew all those names immediately is a testament to the impact these shows have on our shared racial experience. I'll be the first to tell y'all that most Black shows are not very good, so the ones that are carry a heavier burden to make sure we see fully realized human beings on screen. Texturism, cosmetics, colorism, you'd think that was enough, but we still gotta tackle the final boss of the beauty industry's nonsense.
Now, I do not remember a time when I wasn't concerned about my body and how it was being consumed by others. From an early age, I knew that I had to be pretty. And being pretty meant being desirable, being wanted, and in some instances, being protected and believed. The beauty industry's marketing tactic is brilliant. It goes beyond commercials and advertisements. They plant insecurities so deep in you that you become your own never-ending self-improvement project. We then pass down those same insecurities to our children, securing more customers for these cosmetic companies. Their messaging follows you from childhood into adulthood. It influences what you wear, what you eat, and how much you eat.
Body dysmorphic disorder, or BDD, is distinct from general body image issues. It's a mental health problem that causes you so much stress that you may not be able to live normally. Easy ways to tell if you might suffer from it: spending hours every day worried about your appearance, constantly checking mirrors or avoiding them altogether, picking at your skin, trying to hide under a hat or scarf, feeling really anxious about your appearance, or having trouble controlling those negative thoughts. These can lead to severe depression and suicidal ideation. Nia Shumaki from Refinery 29 puts it this way: BDD is like a repetitive whisper from a monster under a bridge, inviting you to jump off, to come and hide in its shame and disgust. You'll miss milestones and have many regrets for the moments you didn't make space for yourself due to this monster. In the US, 1 in 50 people suffer from it. There's a phenomenon that can only exist in this social media heavy environment called Instagram face, which ironically enough describes people using Snapchat filters over their face as references for actual procedures. Black lips, white nose, Native American face structure, Asian brows and eyes. You know, a totally normal face for someone to have. Precedence Research, who I cited earlier, looked at the growth of the global cosmetic surgery industry and found that it's estimated to grow from $71.5 billion last year to over $205 billion by 2030. How does this show up in the Black community specifically? Well, it might surprise y'all to find out that Black teenagers are 50% more likely than white teens to present bulimic behavior, like binge eating and purging, according to the National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders, or ANAD. Cosmetic surgeries have risen more than 56% in adults. The procedures that plague our community include tummy tucks, Brazilian butt lifts, or BBLs, nose reshaping, liposuction, and breast augmentation, or reduction. Our children are also seen as adults far sooner than any other ethnic groups, and I'm sure y'all can imagine how conflicting it is to be a child, but be perceived as an adult at the same time. Teenagers have enough insecurities as is. This just adds on to that. For young women specifically, a key contributing factor in the dissatisfaction they feel with their bodies is the rise of social media, as I mentioned before. Many major brands don't know any other way to market clothes or cosmetic products than to target how well you fit in with the youth, or how ungracefully you're aging. Waist trainers, fad diets. I honestly don't know how anybody survives being bombarded with all that when their brain isn't even fully developed yet.
Women are literally dying on surgery tables in search of this ever-elusive, ever-changing, perfect body. When beauty standards change as quickly as trends, you're always behind. Before I knew what insecurities were, my mother knew. She was very critical of her own body, which influenced me to be critical of my own. And we look alike. I never felt pretty enough. There was always something to fix, always more weight to lose. It heavily impacted my relationship with food. Instead of enjoying my meal, I was obsessing over how many days I would need to not eat for this meal to be worth it. As soon as food touched my lips, I was worrying about how much weight this would put around my waist. I would beat myself up for enjoying starchy foods and punish myself with crash diets, starvation, and overworking out. I had to be skinny. I had to be beautiful. But no matter how much weight I lost, no matter how in shape I was, it was never enough. There was no rest. I could always be thinner. I could always be prettier. There was no room for imperfection. I'm still healing my relationships with food and my body, and I'm still learning how to see my body as more than a product for others to consume.
Working in ad agencies for the past decade has shown me quite a bit about how profitable it is to exploit people's vulnerabilities. Whether it's fear, envy, greed, or some other weak point, there's people sitting in boardrooms discussing more effective ways to make you hate yourself. I'll get specific. I had a large apparel client in my last job that wanted us to run a campaign targeted at women aged 18 to 24. And the amount of airbrushing on these photo shoots and videos was shocking. I've seen blatant photoshopping of women's figures and blemishes. And to make it worse, the campaign will be for fitness apparel to help you attain that figure. Some companies get it, and others really don't.
When you think about it, it's actually enraging that there is an entire market making billions of dollars off of the insecurities and oppression of Black women. They have to keep creating insecurities to remain profitable. It's deeply dark and twisted. From birth to death, women are told that they are not enough. I look back on photos of myself from 10 years ago, during a time I felt deeply insecure, and I marvel at her. She's beautiful. It's wild how I couldn't see the beauty at the time. These corporations are lying to us, convincing us that we're ugly when we're all beautiful and majestic beings. Even stores like Target, which I really enjoy, are designed to call to every insecurity a woman may face. Am I beautiful? Am I a good mother? Am I in shape? To make money from her. Even the sacred act of aging is not allowed for women. We are forced to remain as young as possible and as thin as possible for as long as possible and make it look easy. Aging is a beautiful gift that many aren't afforded. Aging is human. When will women be able to be human? Now, this may sound cheesy, but it's true. Learning to love myself is a journey that has not always been easy, but it's more fulfilling than any product they can ever sell me. Learning to accept and love my body and my being for the beauty it possesses now is a game changer. Once I learn to accept myself for all that I am, even the things people have convinced me are imperfections, it's over for the beauty industry.
Aging is human. If you watch too many ads or listen to too many beauty influencers, you'll walk away with a completely different conclusion, though. I get paid by ads as a YouTuber, and I still feel no guilt whatsoever in telling you to ignore them or skip them. Your mental health and self-esteem are far too important to compromise. There's no real way to reduce the number of harmful ads you're exposed to when it comes to traditional TV or billboards. But limiting your social media usage and telling the platforms not to recommend those ads can at least curate your experience and reduce harm. Instagram and Twitter have options to customize your feed. We'll include resources in the description that explain how. There's progress being made on the legal front, too. If you haven't heard of the Crown Act, it stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. It's a law that prohibits race-based hair discrimination, which is the denial of employment and educational opportunities because of hair texture or protective hairstyles, including braids, locks, twists, or bantu knots. Their official site says 26 states down, 24 to go. This applies to cities and state governments, though. The initiative is led by the Crown Coalition, founded by Dove, National Urban League, Color of Change, and Western Center on Law and Poverty. Yes, Dove is a corporation looking for great PR, but luckily for us, their interests align with putting their name on something truly beneficial. Favorite part, we want to shout out some brands doing a good job putting diversity at the forefront as well. Rihanna's flagship cosmetic brand, Fenty Beauty, blew up the market in 2017 and was the first time some women were able to find foundation in their shade. I didn't expect to be shouting out MAC Cosmetics here, but they have 53 shades in their Studio Fix Powder Plus foundation line and 63 shades in their Studio Fix Fluid Liquid foundation line. They've been advocating for inclusivity for a grip. We'll provide a full list in the description for y'all to check out, but highlights of the rest of the list include Lancome's AI-powered motion stability device that helps people with disabilities apply makeup, CoverGirl's Full Spectrum collection, specifically for women of color, Maybelline's Fit Me foundation line, priced at less than $10, and Morphe's efforts to highlight gender inclusivity. We out here trying to be pretty too, bruh. Final thoughts. When it comes down to our daily lives, we need to be more skeptical about the world around us. Why did that brand invent a word that doesn't exist to label that new product? Trademarking. Is it really the #1 recommended facial cream by dermatologists? No. Is your natural hair unprofessional? Of course not. Is there actually a new formula that does all that fake in the animation? Hell no. Are you enough? Always. Y'all got the information now. Can't say I ain't tell you. Really appreciate y'all watching, and a huge thank you to my guest host, Alicia Renice, for sharing her experiences with the emotion and impact she brings every single time over on her channel. It's on screen right now. Click it and subscribe for your boy. All right, peace.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Dysmorphia, hello friends. We're talking and we're talking.
Seriously?
Like, how's that gonna, I don't know. Cam James is just so good. Girls, can I record a video real quick? I'm almost done. I'm almost finished. They said no.
Oh my God.
Oh, room tone, okay. Yay.